We are here to celebrate Theodor Herzl's achievement of his dream to create a Jewish haven for our people, bringing us back to the Holy Land under Jewish sovereignty after nearly 2,000 years of exile. Only 50 years after the Zionist Congress that we are commemorating, Herzl's dream of a Jewish state was born. So that to the delegates of this festive anniversary from the four corners of the earth, Tzaharaim Tovim, good afternoon, bon après-midi, guten Abend, and fittingly in Esperanto, bono pastagmezo. About 6 years ago, my wife and I made Aliyah. We were both lifelong Zionists, but the purest form of Zionism is actually expressed with one's feet. In fact, my British-born wife and I met in Israel in 1983 when we were young volunteers on a kibbutz. I'm originally from Canada. And one day, just a few years ago, I came home from work on a cold, dark Montreal winter's night and asked her, "Margaret, what do you think about moving to Israel?" And without hesitation, she replied, "Let's do it. It'll be an adventure." To which she added, "I always thought we would end up there." She was right on both counts, and we are now both proud Israelis. I want to emphasize that Israel belongs to all Jews, Israeli-born or Israeli immigrants such as my wife and myself, but also to each and every Jew in the diaspora. Israel belongs to all of us. In today's hyper-interconnected world, this is an idea that needs to be promoted because Israel is the national homeland of the Jews. You saw in the video clip that I'm trying to introduce Israel to extremely large audiences, literally in the hundreds of millions, and in some instances, billions of people at a time. Israel is very poorly understood for two reasons. The steady drumbeat of negative media coverage, which portrays Israel only as a conflict zone, and secondly, because of the activities of the haters, BDS and other groups who have a fanatical negative obsession with us. My projects are oriented towards the majority of people. I call them the silent majority. They're not political, and they don't really know Israel. Yet if asked, they would probably have an overall negative impression of our country due to the above previously mentioned influences. My experience with first-time visitors to Israel is nearly 100% quickly realize that the Israel they are seeing bears almost no resemblance to their prior expectations. So what my projects are doing is inviting literally billions of first-time visitors to Israel via their TV screens. And I know it's working. So if I take a project, for example, the Giro d'Italia bike race, where in 2018 we hosted the first 3 days of the 3-week-long Grand Tour. It was the first time the Giro had ventured outside of Europe, and Israel was seen by over 1 billion television spectators. Now, the beauty of bike racing is that it takes place outdoors. So for 3 glorious days, 1 billion people got to see the entirety of Israel. They saw it through magnificent aerial photographic images from Haifa in the north to Eilat in the south, plus 1 full day covering our national capital of Jerusalem. And the reason I say I know my projects are working is because from 2018, when we hosted the Giro, to 2019, Israel led the world in tourism growth, 38%. We're reaching this silent majority of people, sports fans, and showing them a true image of ourselves. You know, I moved to Israel from Canada. I would never have moved to a country that was less tolerant, democratic, or safe than the country from which I came. This is the message I'm trying to promote, that the Israel that I know and love is a tolerant, benevolent, peace-loving, Western democracy. Last month, we hosted the championship game of the French Soccer League, the Trophée des Champions, which was watched by 400 million fans of French soccer. We had a beautiful game between Nantes and the eventual winner, Paris Saint-Germain, a team which features two of the sport's biggest stars, Neymar and the great Lionel Messi, possibly the best player of all time. So one can ask, how does bringing Messi to Israel change perception of Israel in the world? Well, Messi has about 230 million social media fans. So when Messi is posting pictures from his stroll on the boardwalk of Tel Aviv, he's literally educating hundreds of millions of his fans. Although sporting competitions draw the largest audiences on earth, my activities are not restricted to just sports. In 2019, Israel earned the right to host the world's largest music competition, the Eurovision Song Contest. Opportunistically, I decided to invite a megastar, Madonna, to do a cameo appearance. The result was that our edition of Eurovision in Tel Aviv was by far the most watched in history, seen by 280 million people. And we were noticed in new markets, including North America, which are not familiar with the largely Eurocentric Eurovision. In fact, we got front-page coverage from the New York Times and mention on CNN due to Madonna's appearance. This demystifies the whole notion of Israel as a conflict zone. Now, it's not only with soccer stars and music icons that we can present Israel in a more positive light. But what about bringing a mother from Africa with her child that desperately needs life-saving heart surgery? I am part of a beautiful Israeli NGO called Save a Child's Heart. We operate on children from underprivileged nations who lack access to such facilities, both in setting up field hospitals and in bringing children to Israel at no cost. We operate in 64 different countries. 2 days a week, our children's hospital in Holon is reserved for Palestinians from Gaza and from the West Bank, together with their doctors and parents, treated with dignity, and all in Arabic. Whether at the hospital or in the group home we provide during their extensive recovery. Save a Child's Heart shows off the big heart of Israel and the Jewish people. Tikkun Olam, our ancient imperative to improve life on earth. This is what we do as Jews. I publicly carry my Jewish values wherever I am. In Afghanistan, I led a rescue mission that was brilliantly executed by a most wonderful Israeli NGO called IsraAid. It resulted in more than 400 Afghans being extracted from the grim fate they faced in their country. What started out as a mission to rescue the Afghan national female cycling team grew as Afghans heard that an Israeli group was succeeding to extract people from Taliban oppression. So in the end, our daring escape mission, with so many dangerous twists and turns that it would make a gripping Hollywood movie, we included a women's robotics team, Afghan female judges, female police officers, human rights workers, diplomats and their families, and the last Jewish family in Afghanistan. We were successful in finding them visas in France, Switzerland, Italy, and Canada. In Rwanda, my bike team adopted the only women's cycling team in that country. We also built cycling tracks that are used by 150,000 aspiring riders. This is what we do as Israelis and as Jews since biblical times, helping those less fortunate than ourselves. I can think of only one explanation for why Israel receives such enormously disproportionate negative attention from obsessive haters on both the right and the left. anti-Semitism. So we defy these haters by putting out the word that Jews and Israelis are involved in doing good works around the world. Telling our stories and showing a different side of Jewish contributions to our beautiful planet. Beyond merely promoting Israel, some of my activities actually opened up diplomatic opportunities. I was truly privileged to have been invited to the White House for the signing of the Abraham Accords. As it was an American guest list, why was I one of the few Israelis to have been included? I was surprised to hear from the peace negotiators, specifically Jared Kushner and the special representative of the U.S. President, Jason Greenblatt, that the work that I'm doing actually helped give confidence to the leaders of the Gulf nations to take the leap and agree to peaceful relations with Israel. The peace negotiators noted 3 events in which I was involved that proved helpful. The first one was the Giro d'Italia, which featured a team from Bahrain and another from the UAE. Prior to the race, reporters asked me, will those teams really come to Israel to compete? And I replied, of course they're going to come. It's the Giro, the sport's second most important race after the Tour de France. And sure enough, the Bahrain and UAE teams raced in Israel without incident and without any resistance in those countries. Secondly, I support the Israeli National Judo Program. Now, judo is popular in Israel because we won our first Olympic medals in that sport. There was a tournament in Abu Dhabi, and the president of the International Judo Federation, Marius Wieser, who has since become a friend, told the Emiratis that he would pull the event if the UAE didn't permit Israeli athletes to participate. And guess what? Our Israeli judoka won. And Hatikva was played while the beautiful blue and white Israeli flag was raised. Not a dry eye in our Israeli delegation, let me tell you. But also, no negative reaction from the people in the UAE. And finally, my Israel Startup Nation professional cycling team is the first Israeli team to compete at the highest level of its sport, the World Tour. It means we ride in the Tour de France, Giro, and all the other big races. The team flew to Dubai to race in the Tour of the UAE. As a World Tour team, the host was obliged to allow us to participate. As we were riding in the streets of Dubai with our name Israel emblazoned on our jerseys. And the reaction from the locals? Well, little Emirati kids were waiting in line for our athletes' autographs and to receive a souvenir water bottle with the word Israel written on it. We had nothing but positive encounters in the UAE that proved eventually to be a gracious host. These activities create people-to-people bridges, and dare I say, new friendships. This is the beauty of sports, a language that everyone speaks. During the tour of the UAE, I predicted, prophetically as it turned out, that the day when our leaders would find the political conditions to reach a peace agreement, it would be a warm peace, because we had built these bridges between our peoples. Little did I know that only 6 months later, I'd be at the White House witnessing the signing of the Abraham Accords. So I know these activities are working both in projecting a positive image of Israel to huge audiences and in breaking down barriers to peace in our region. People say, Sylvan, you love cycling. And I tell them, no, actually, I like cycling. But I love Israel and I love the Jewish people. As such, the bike team is not only the team of Israel, but it's also the team of the Jewish people. We have amazing friends all over the world, cycling fans, and even non-cycling fans who are following our journey. In fact, we have probably the widest audience of any cycling team because of our Israeli and Jewish roots. Now, of course, we need to defend ourselves against false accusations and false labels. Calling Israel an apartheid state is an affront to those who suffered under that despicable system. Now, and I'm as capable as any to make the defensive case for Israel based on our virtuous national principles and ancient Jewish values. But with my projects, I'm not trying to convince the haters and the anti-Semites. Rather, I'm speaking to the apolitical, silent majority in their living rooms and on their mobile phones. I'm on the offensive side of the field, and this is where we can score goals with the silent majority. They don't want a history lesson or a political science lesson. They just want to enjoy their sport or their music concert or other cultural event. And I'm able to bring out our virtuous character right to them in a format they enjoy. Finally, I'm always looking for partners. To date, I've gotten very little support from others, including the Israeli government. Now, I've done quite a lot. But if I can increase my financial firepower, there is no shortage of wonderful projects that we could undertake that would further increase the visibility of Israel. If anyone wants to join me in these positive, fun, impactful projects, I'd love to meet you. Thank you.